Hi, this is Richard Dent. You're listening to The Grill and Truth, where legend speaks.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Grilling Truth's NFL Pick'em Show. We're at Championship Weekend. Remember, the show is brought to you by Gridiron Mo, a new interactive football app where you get to call what the offense or defense could do in a live NFL game and see what all other fans have called also. Check out Gridiron Mo at www.gridironmo.com. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster. And we're going to introduce first this week a little change-up. We're going to introduce Brian Schmidt. He was the only one that got both games right last week. How you doing, Brian?
I am doing good. I'm just happy that my team is still in it, and everybody that picked Kansas City was wrong.
Well, the good thing is this week you'll probably be the only one dumb enough to pick the Steelers, so we'll all get that game back. But if you guys have been listening to Pick'em Show all week, Brian tied for first. So now I think we've got a three-way tie, Matt, between the three of us with 2 weekends left. Help me welcome in the other guy in a first-place tie, Matt Andruscavage.
Well, thank you very much. It was good to pick up that game, but don't we usually introduce the biggest loser first?
Yeah, but that was all of us, except for Brian.
I don't see how that's possible.
Everybody went 2-2.
Oh, Brian went 4-0.
Yeah,
I see.
Everybody else was 3-1. But
okay, but you went 2-2.
Since you talk about the biggest loser, he's the biggest loser every week, Os Davis.
And I tied with Mike Goodpaster for being the biggest loser at 2-2.
I was 3-1.
How's that?
You picked the Packers. You picked the Falcons.
You didn't have the Packers.
I know. I'm just messing with you.
You had the Cowboys.
I know.
You had the Cowboys and Kansas City.
Let's get on to the show. I was just trying to mess with
We're all
Oz.
like, no way.
Since Oz comes in last by himself almost every week. All right. Also, as normal, we have former Denver Bronco, Tampa Bay Buccaneers guard Mark Cooper in the house. How you doing, Coop?
What's happening, fellas? Big weekend, huh? How about all the field goals? I hate kickers.
So the Kansas City Chiefs right now. And we got a special guest tonight, played for Bill with Coach Belichick, I think Super Bowl 36. Help us welcome to the show, former Notre Dame legend at Notre Dame, Marc Edwards. How you doing, Mark?
Doing very well. I think it's easier to say the teams I didn't play for in the NFL than the teams I did play for.
I know. That's why I just went with the Notre Dame legend.
That's right. I bounced around, with 5 teams over 9 years, and happened to be in the right place at the right time to beat up on Brian's Pittsburgh Steelers in the AFC Championship game back in 2001 season, early January 2002, before marching on to Super Bowl 36 and getting me some bling.
Yeah, that's the main reason I had you on, was just to shut up the Steeler fan. So.
But you know what? Had I been on the show last week, much like Brian, I would have been 4-0.
Okay. Well, everybody that comes on this show always says that if they'd have been on the week before, they'd have been undefeated, Mark.
Absolutely.
See, if I wouldn't have been on last week, I'd have been undefeated. But also, Tony Hunter says hi. He's a friend of the show. He hosts the Notre Dame Weekly show. And Tony wants you to come on his Notre Dame Legend show sometime in the next month or two if you get a chance.
Absolutely. Notre Dame legend, Cincinnati legend. We grew up in the same little town. Right. And interestingly enough, back when I was in high school, I won an award as Buddy LaRosa's Athlete of the Year, and Tony happened to be going in the Hall of Fame at that time. So I got to meet Tony many years ago.
Yeah, and last week on our Notre Dame Legends show, they had Bob Crable, who just got inducted to the College Hall of Fame. So anybody out there who wants to hear that can go to thegrillingtruth.net. So we'll start off with Mark, since you're our special guest. Antonio Brown had some videotapes, some stuff in the locker room, Mike Tomlin said. Bill Belichick always acts like nothing really phases him. You've played for Coach Belichick before. How will he approach this week, and will he bring anything like that up?
Not really. Most of him, it's business as usual for Belichick. His philosophy is, hey, defensively, I'm going to take away your best two options. All right, they're going to stack the line against Le'Veon Bell, and they're going to double-team Antonio Brown. And if options 3, 4, 5 are good enough to beat us, well, hey, I guess we'll just have to live with that. So, and they're so good at doing that. And they just play such complementary football. Their defense is very rarely put in a bad situation by their offense or their special teams. So teams are having to go, 80 yards, every single time, 80 plus, almost every single time to get points on the board. So Belichick, he doesn't get into the rah-rah stuff, the bulletin board material, stuff like that. He's like, you know what, we're going to out-game plan you, we're going to outwork you, and we're going to go out and we're going to beat you on Sunday.
All right, let's get a Pittsburgh Steelers fan perspective. What was your take on the Facebook Live Antonio Brown situation, Brian?
Freaking moron. Probably about the easiest way I can say it.
Yeah, what's said in the locker room needs to stay in the locker room.
Yeah, and as you and I were talking about before we started the show, I mean, we know the things we've said in the locker room. I wouldn't want a lot of that stuff out on Facebook due to the fact I'd like to stay out of prison. So
me and Brian would still be in prison. It's just Brian's prison would be deeper than mine.
Yeah, I would have been there a lot longer.
Yeah, he'd have been there a lot longer.
Yeah, things like that.
Go ahead.
Things like that just absolutely annoy me. And the other thing that with that is, I mean, the code has always been, and this is kind of where my rant of NFL football this weekend is, the code of football has just deteriorated. Not only things like that, but, football is meant to be played in bad conditions and bad fields when it happens. And Kansas City, Steeler game being moved 8 o'clock, I understand they did it because of concerns for fans coming to the game. I can live with that. What I can't live with is heated fields, tarp covering the fields till 2 hours before it starts. It makes me crazy. Football was meant to be played in bad weather, bad fields, and the fact that we don't see that anymore is disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, come on, Coop. The frozen tundra now is heated. And I remember this. When I was 12 years old in Cincinnati, Mark probably remembers this too, the Bengals played the game in 59-degree below weather. Nobody cared about the fans.
The original Ice Bowl.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Against the San Diego Chargers.
Yeah.
Hey,
it was 59 below and nobody cared.
Yeah.
They all got tutus on. It's sad.
Yeah.
Heaters, helmet heaters, Nike heat clothes, Nike cool clothes, Nike kiss my ass clothes. I mean, it's
now, is this good? Do you think this is something where you're really upset that it changed, or you're just upset that it changed like 30 years after you played?
No, football's a gladiator sport. It's not for, women don't belong in the locker rooms. Phones don't belong in the locker rooms. What goes on in the locker room stays in the locker room, and it's all just deteriorated.
All right, Oz, I'm sure you have a take on this. You have a take on everything.
Well, I was just going to say you shouldn't. Brian shouldn't worry about what gets out there because, he might get in trouble with the law, but on the other hand, he could get elected president.
True. Really, here comes the liberal from California with his Hillary Clinton bull crap again. Well, Matt, you got anything to say?
Well, as far as if it was my team, I would feel the same way that that Brian does. It's just, I don't know. You got to keep this kind of stuff in house. You don't want to give. Belichick's hard enough to beat. The Patriots are they're so difficult to beat in these situations. You don't want to give them any extra motivation or anything, any bulletin board material. It's just such a dumb thing to do.
All right, let's go ahead. We'll go to picking the games. Break them down a little bit. We'll start off with New England-Pittsburgh since we're already there. Brian, my question to you, you're a Steeler fan, you watch every game. Do you think they can get pressure on Brady, number one? And number two, can they cover on the back end?
Yes, I think they can get some pressure on Brady. On the back end, they're playing better, but I'm my jury is still out. Obviously, if Gronkowski was playing, I'd be like, all bets are off. But still, I mean, you got Brady throwing a football, and as we've seen, you and I could go out there and play receiver for the New England Patriots, and he's going to hit us in the chest every time. So, that's a tough matchup.
Well, he might hit you in the chest with it, but I'm going to catch it with my hands because that's the way you're supposed to catch it, Brian.
Yeah, that's probably not going to happen with you. But I think the Steelers' defense playing better. I wouldn't sleep on them. I like the fact they've been very opportunistic, creating turnovers. I think this defense is better suited for playing the Patriots now than it was early in the season. And the one thing with the Patriots, and you and I talked about this the other night, is, yeah, they're a great team, but the amount of games they've won against either A, backup quarterbacks, or B, quarterbacks that couldn't quarterback your little league team.
Yeah, but on the other hand, how many teams did the Steelers beat that had a legit, really good quarterback? I mean, in the playoffs, they beat Tannehill and Smith.
Yeah, but if you look through the season, I mean, they've definitely had a few more than what the Patriots have had, and the Patriots are a great team. But yeah, Pittsburgh's playing on a roll right now. My biggest concern is the back end of the defense, and we're not going to kick 6 field goals and beat the Patriots.
Yeah.
So we've got to put 7 on the board when you're in the red zone.
Now, Mark, I know you're the big offensive line guy. The thing that's really stood out to me about the Pittsburgh this year, especially the second half of the season, is their offensive line. I think they've got in Foster and DeCastro maybe the best tandem of guards. Villanueva is really improved. So do you think, I mean, can New England just stack 8 in the box and win the game that way?
Yeah, I think so. Especially the way Bell runs. I mean, that tiptoe crap's only going to get you so far. And I know he's made a career out of it, but and I got to tell you, it drives me freaking crazy when a running back runs like that to start out with. And I know everybody else, a lot of guys say the same thing. But bottom line is, you can only hide for so long. Patriots got good front, good athletes. Well, best coach team out there. I don't think they have a shot. You can't go around kicking field goals and think you're going to beat anybody in this league the way they did over the weekend. I was busting a couple of my buddies, texting back and forth, just laughing. I mean, I hate kickers to start out with, and for them to, be dominating the game and you not scoring points, that is demoralizing to an offensive unit and an offensive line.
Yeah, and Mark, I know you were a running back and did a lot of dancing in the NFL. But,
yeah. No, I mean, the thing about the Patriots,
Mark Edwards was your kind of guy, so.
yeah. I wasn't fast enough to dance. That's for dang sure. But the Patriots play that 2-gap scheme. So where Bell has made his hay, he'll sit behind his guys. He'll wait for those defensive linemen to make a decision, and they'll go one way or the other, and it opens up running lanes. The Patriots are really designed to 2-gap everything. So, you'll see the Patriots, they're not looking to get upfield. So there's not going to be a lot of those holes with all that patience that Le'Veon Bell's used to.
They're going to stay in their lanes and just hold the 2-gap.
They're going to stay in their lanes and hold the 2-gap. Absolutely.
Yeah, so Mark, it would be similar to a team playing against an option team, and instead of attacking the option offense, you just basically you slow play it.
Yeah, and that's what the Patriots are good. They don't mind giving up yardage. I'll let Bell get his 2 and 3 yards. I'll tackle him to line of scrimmage, let him fall forward for 2-3 yards, whatever it is. And the Patriots are betting, hey, you know what? We're going to make you go 80, 85 yards every single drive. And we're not going to let you get big chunk plays either. So you're going to have to earn 3 yards, 6 yards, 5 yards, 8 yards, time and time again. And inevitably, they're going to get you off schedule. You're going to have a holding penalty. You're going to have a false start. And then you're going to be in long yardage. You're not going to be able to stay on schedule. And then they're going to get you off the field.
All right. Now, Oz, what's your take on this game? And do you think there's any key to the game that we're missing here?
Okay, so I figured that I would be one of the only ones to pick Pittsburgh this week. So I was trying to figure a basis for justifying that.
Hey, your Steelers are screwed this week, Schmitty, if Oz is picking them.
Yeah, it's already got me wanting to change my pick.
See, now wait a sec. I haven't said who I'm going with yet. Okay, so but I'm trying to make the statistical case for Pittsburgh on defense, but I'm not seeing a lot. You know, the sack total is top 10, but the sack rate is bottom 10. They're giving up an average amount of passing yards, and they're facing an above-average passing offense, especially on third down. See, I can't really make the case for Pittsburgh there. I think the summary we just heard was really nice. I think ever since Belichick has taken over this team, and even when he was DC with the Giants, he's done bend, don't break, right? Make them drive the 80, 85 yards, 5 yards at a time. Make them burn clock.
Plus, he makes the team play at that pace. And, I mean,
right,
if you look
exactly.
Super Bowl 25 when he was coaching the Giants.
Right. One of my favorite games of all time. That's always been the way he has been, and I think that would work in this game. Look, Le'Veon Bell had a nice game last game, but they didn't score a touchdown. And like it has been said, you can't go scoreless. You can't stay out of the end zone and beat the Patriots. My pick is the Patriots. The Steelers can't convince me.
Nobody asked you for a pick yet, but Matt hadn't had his chance to dissuade
Okay, well,
you.
I'm just trying to relax the Steelers fans.
All right, Matt. Same question.
Well,
is there anything we're missing here? I mean, I think New England's defense has been greatly improved from last year, number one.
Which is actually surprising, seeing as Jamie Collins is gone and Chandler Jones?
Yeah.
With both those guys gone, it's hard to believe they got better, but they do look better. I had two questions for Marc Edwards. One of them was already answered. Mark, I just want to say, as a 49ers fan, I'll always remember you as a Niner. But I remember watching you at winning the Super Bowl in 2001 and being glad for you. And I had a question for you. You answered kind of what I wanted to ask about how Belichick would handle Le'Veon Bell's running style. But playing for Belichick, does he? You had mentioned that they're going to try to make Roethlisberger drive 80 to 85 yards every time. Do you think that is it more of a priority for him to back up Roethlisberger long, or to keep Brady on the field longer and just keep guys like Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown off the field?
Well, I mean, that's always the thought. So how do you keep a good offense scoring? Well, you don't give them any opportunities, one, and you keep their quarterback on the field. That's always the thought process when people go against the Patriots. Hey, we're going to have to run the ball. We're going to have to chew up clock. We're going to have to keep Brady off the field. And once again, the Patriots are the best team in the league at playing complementary football, offense, defense, special teams. The offense rarely puts the defense in a bad situation starting a drive. The same thing with special teams. They rarely make any big mistakes to put their defense in a hole to start. So, they try to play a complete game, and, that's what makes them so successful.
Actually, can I get in a question here, too? Can I get in a question here, too?
Sure.
Mark, I wanted to ask you this, Mark. Because we talk about how the Patriots have been playing great defense all year. I don't think they have. I think between weeks 4 and about weeks 10 or 11, their defense was lazy. They weren't getting to the ball as quickly as they usually do. But then Belichick cut Collins. And since then, things have turned around. Now I'm wondering, does this happen often with Belichick, and is this an addition by subtraction kind of move?
They through that middle part of the season, they were still playing good defense, but they weren't creating a lot of turnovers.
Right.
Yeah. And, turnovers are one of those things, like they come in bunches. You can't necessarily predict when they're going to happen or mean, yeah, you're always trying to create, but it's one of those things like if you keep trying, eventually it's going to happen. Jamie Collins went on to Cleveland, I want to say, and, I mean, he played great there. It's a contract year. I don't know it was so much about chemistry this year, but what Belichick was doing was looking salary cap for, 2017, 2018, 2019, and he probably thought he had some good young players in there that would be able to step in and do the same, if not equal job that Jamie Collins was doing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now I'm going to finish it with this before we all make our picks. Coop, just what are your thoughts on New England and Pittsburgh's offensive lines? I mean, Pittsburgh's offensive line coach, I think New England's biggest addition this year was bringing back their offensive line coach they'd had in the past back, because it seems to me like everybody on that line has gotten better since then.
Dante Scarnecchia, absolutely.
Yeah, we've talked about that throughout the year, how offensive line play should get consistently better, and how the Broncos did not, and how other teams have. And for sure the Patriots are in that category of just getting better and better every week. So, the amount of time they're giving Brady is like the Green Bay Packers offensive line. The amount of time they're giving Rodgers, those guys have gotten better and better and better. So, you've got 4 great offensive lines playing this weekend again. But I think the Patriots will, and Mark said it the best. I mean, they're going to play more consistently on all 3 facets of the game and be able to beat Pittsburgh, who, in my view, they're a good football team, but they don't have enough talent to make it all happen.
All right. So your pick's Pittsburgh. Brian, what's your pick? You got to pick with your head, not your heart, Brian.
Yeah, that's probably not going to happen on this one. I'm going to go with Pittsburgh, more because it's not just a heart pick, but good. I just feel like, they're a hot team. They've been winning, defense playing well. Somebody's got to beat New England eventually. I don't know if it's going to be this year, but I'm going to go with my guys on this one. I think, I keep hearing, they're going to do this to Bell. I don't think Bell has had a bad game all year. Even when they played New England early in the year and they had Landry at quarterback, which, right there is a kiss of death. They only gave him the football 10 times. He had 10 carries, 53 yards. He caught 7 or 8 balls. When Pittsburgh made the change to where they were going to feed him the ball 25, 26, 28 times, that's when they started winning. And even though with no touchdowns last week, the one thing I will say about last week, even with the field goals, I was actually happy that Tomlin didn't try to go crazy early in the game and try to go for it on 4th down. I was glad he took the points.
Yeah.
So by taking the points, and knowing that defensively they could play with Kansas City, I would have, obviously you'd love to see 7 points, but I like the fact that he didn't do what he's done in the past at times, and that's try to be overly aggressive. I was glad he took the points. So, with that said, I think Pittsburgh will put the ball in the end zone, and I think they'll win this game.
Well, I'm going to go this way. I'm going to go with the Patriots for 2 simple facts. They've got a far superior coach, and Brady's better than Roethlisberger. I think Roethlisberger's a Hall of Famer, but I think Brady's one of the 2 best quarterbacks with Joe Montana that I've ever seen play. So I'm going to go with those guys. I think New England's offensive line is good enough to hold up against a really stout Pittsburgh front 7. And I think the difference is I think you're going to see a couple guys get past Artie Burns and get past Mike Mitchell, make some plays. And I just think New England's a lot more disciplined team. I know that a lot of people gave the Bengals crap the way they played the Steelers in the playoffs. But if you watch the Chiefs game, you still got Steelers doing that. And the thing is this, I don't think Marc Edwards would have ever thought about, if they would have had it back then, going Facebook Live and putting what Bill Belichick set up. And I think it goes back to what Terry Bradshaw said about the cheerleader a little bit. I mean, I just don't think if you have respect for your coach that you're going to do that. So I'm going to go with Bill Belichick in most situations, and I'm going to stick with Belichick here. I think the Patriots win the game, something like 24-14, 24-17. Coop, you already picked, didn't you, Coop? Mark.
Yeah, Patriots, baby.
Yeah, Marc Edwards.
Well, my thought is this. Last week, the Patriots had an off week. They turned the ball over 3 times. They let a much, much, much worse team stay in the game with them for a while. But then towards the end of the game, they just kind of stepped on Houston's throat, squeezed the life out of them, and end up beating them significantly, even covering the spread. Now, everybody talks about how horrible New England played. They still beat Houston by, 18 points when it was all said and done. And quite frankly, they had their bad game in the playoffs already. So I would be very shocked if they have another 3-turnover type of game. And I think they're going to go out there and they're going to play with excellence, and they're going to probably put 30-plus points on the board while giving up about 17.
Well, the only thing I could say in contradiction to that is the Houston Texans, I think, are a really good football team with no quarterback. I mean, they hit Brady a lot.
They're a very good
they're
defense.
really good.
And they hit Brady a lot, and he's still put 31 on the board.
Yeah, that's the thing that's scary about him, because the Texans' defense did everything they wanted to do, and they're still giving up 30 points.
And they got 2 turnovers and a special teams turnover, which is very, very uncharacteristic of the Patriots. That's why I said the Patriots had their bad game. They had their game where they didn't play up to their standards, and they still waxed Houston when it was all said and done.
All right, so Matt, who do you have?
I'm basically New England for a very simple reason. Bill Belichick is he's just too good of a coach. He makes too many good adjustments. Nothing seems to phase this team. And I was going to say something similar to what Mark said, but Mark really put it well. They played their bad game. Houston really took it to New England in the first half to the point where you thought maybe this was going to be a game. And, Brady had the greatest TD to interception ratio in NFL history, the 28-2, and he threw 2 interceptions. I don't think there's any way he throws more than 1 interception the rest of the way, if he even throws that. And I really like Pittsburgh. I've picked Pittsburgh most of the season. I think they're a really good football team. I just think New England's just a little bit better in the key areas. And I probably had a closer game, but the more I've thought about it, I think it's going to be something like 34-20 or something like that. I think New England's just going to play very, very well. And Pittsburgh, I'm guessing Roethlisberger is going to throw an interception in the fourth quarter.
All right, Oz?
I like Matt's bold prediction there that Brady's not going to throw another interception. I mean, considering the 3 defenses that he could potentially face, I don't think he's going to throw another interception either. I think, 0 is probably what he's going to get. I'll take the Patriots. I'll take, 20-14. 21-14. Let's be boring. 21-14.
All right, that brings us to the next game, which we got the Atlanta Falcons and the Green Bay Packers. Oz, you ever seen 2 hotter quarterbacks going into the playoffs or going into a championship game than Matt Ryan and Aaron Rodgers?
Oh, this is great. I have got the awesome stat for you on this one. The over-under for this game is 60.5 points. That is said to be the highest over-under ever offered in the playoffs in the NFL. That's awesome. I mean, we don't even need to talk about the defenses when we preview this game, right?
All right. So what's the key to this game, Coop?
Well, I'm taking the over because I don't think either defense is going to stop either of these quarterbacks. I mean, these are the two hottest quarterbacks we've seen in a long time. And, boy, you know, it's going to be whoever's defense plays the best that's going to win this game, because both these offenses should score, 30-plus points each. So it'll be like a tennis match. This is the game I'm looking forward to watching.
I would almost lean towards under. And the reason I would do that is this. I think the Falcons, run block-wise, are as good as anybody in the NFL. And they've got two stud running backs. So is it too hard to believe, Marc Edwards, that maybe they just line up and decided they're going to run the ball and limit Rodgers' opportunities and then let Ryan hit Julio Jones and them guys deep every once in a while?
Well, you also got to remember you're playing indoors, where the weather's going to be, not affect anything. So, yeah, you know what? They run the ball, but they always put up a bunch of points. And I think it's going to be a shootout. And if 60 points is a lot of points for two teams, if it's not the over, it's going to be darn close to the over.
Yeah, and I can see Atlanta scoring a lot of points running the ball against Green Bay's defense.
Yeah.
Well, they catch the ball well out of the backfield. I mean, they're all around. I mean, they're just an all-around good football team. I mean,
Freeman and Coleman can do anything. You could probably line them up in the slot as a wide receiver.
I think he's brilliant as an offensive coordinator, and sad that he didn't take the job out here with the Broncos. But there's mixed reviews on Mike in the past with Elway. So obviously, I think that's what came into play. But boy, I like that guy.
Which guy was that?
Shanahan.
Mike Shanahan?
Kyle Shanahan.
Oh, Kyle Shanahan, yeah. Hopefully he doesn't get stuck up in that quagmire in San Francisco and ruin his career. No offense, Matt. Brian, what do you think? What do you think is the key to this game?
I think really the key to me is, can Atlanta do enough to stop Rodgers right now, who just is playing out of his mind?
Yeah, but so is Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan over the last 9 weeks has the quarterback rating 6 points higher.
Right, but here's my whole thing is Rodgers has been there before. He's done it before. I mean, now, Ryan is in, the biggest game of his career, although I think Matt Ryan is an unbelievable quarterback. But Rodgers has been here before, and sometimes that makes a difference. And Atlanta, it's going to be a shootout. I was kind of looking today at both defenses, and honestly, I mean, I don't think either defense can stop either way. It's going to be who has the ball last, and who, can a defense at least, hold somebody to a couple field goals, and, maybe, a 34-33 kind of deal. I mean, to me, Rodgers right now is just playing out of his mind. And sometimes, and that's where last week where I came into it thinking Green Bay, and then, kind of listening to everybody was like, on paper, there's no way Green Bay should win the game. And, darn sure they won the game. So,
yeah, but the difference you got between Dallas and Atlanta is Dan Quinn, I think, is a hell of a football coach. And he's a great defensive mind. And I don't think Jason Garrett's even close to that. And you also had a rookie quarterback, and Matt Ryan played in the championship game in, 2012 against the Niners, threw for almost 300 yards in the first half. They crapped their pants in the second half and lost the game 28-24. But he's been there before. And let's face it, Rodgers has only won one championship game, so that's only one more than his. Oz, what's your take?
I wanted to go back to what you were talking about before, Mike, when you're like, what kind of offense can they run? Should they just run it? Should they pass it? Whatnot. I dropped that stat, I think it was last week. Look, Atlanta is scoring 3.25 points per drive this season. Green Bay is second in the league at 2.6 points per drive. It doesn't matter what kind of offense they're going to play. Either of these teams is going to score a lot of points against the other.
Yeah, but I think it matters because if you can run the ball, you can kind of maybe slightly limit Rodgers' opportunities.
Well, yeah, but the score, the only end result is the score is lower. If what Brian is saying, and, the last team that gets a drive wins the game, is correct, then it's not going to matter how many drives you give the Packers. You know, you can give them 5, you can give them 13. The score, it could be 50-48, or it could be 30-28. Again, I don't think it matters. I think you can slow down the game if you want to. You can go long if you want to. These teams can match each other for points, can't they, Mike?
I don't know. The thing that stands out to me is this. Green Bay is not going to be able to run the ball at all. And if you know that and you're Dan Quinn, I think Dan Quinn is a hell of a football coach, and I think Dan Quinn's going to be able to figure out something that will get a couple stops. I don't think the Packers will be able to do that unless Ryan just craps his pants. I mean, there's a lot of weapons there. You've got probably the best receiver in the game if he's healthy. You got Mohamed Sanu, who's a good receiver. The Gabriel kid's good. They've got, I think, the best run-blocking line in football. Pass blocking, not quite as good. But I don't think Green Bay is going to be able to stop them at all. I think Atlanta may be able to get a stop or two, so I guess you'd know which way I'm
and that's
leaning.
the difference. And that's the difference is 1 or 2 stops. Okay.
Yeah, and I just think, kind of like the Belichick-Tomlin, I think there's a fairly big difference between the coaches here. Not that McCarthy's bad, but McCarthy in the playoffs has been known to make some decisions that aren't that great. But go ahead, Oz. Pick the game. We'll let you go first because you hate to go first.
Well, I think it is in the NFL's interest to put the Packers in the Super Bowl, but I got to go with the Falcons. I mean, how many more miracles? How many more miracles can there be? The Falcons. I'm taking Atlanta.
All right, Marc Edwards.
Sorry.
This season for Green Bay feels an awful lot like their Super Bowl year. They had to win the last several games. They get in the playoffs. They got hot at the right time. So I think that continues, and Rodgers finds a way. I'm not worried about them not being able to run the ball. The way their passing game is structured, so a lot of those little short throws are like long handoffs. That's what we used to get. So Steve Murray used to call it out San Fran. It's just like a long handoff. So, get them receivers the ball 2 or 3 yards into the route and let them run it from there. So it just has a feeling like that Super Bowl year, the way Rodgers is playing. Green Bay goes to the Super Bowl.
All right, Coop.
Well, I just like Atlanta. I like what they do. I like their players. I like the offensive line. I like Shanahan. I like the way he moves guys around. I like the way he takes advantage of linebackers. I like the way they throw the ball out of the backfield. Green Bay is having like a dream season. Like, I don't think Rodgers can throw a bad pass. I mean, everything he does just seems to be happening. Those are scary teams when like everything seems to happen. Early in the year, I mean, I was picking Green Bay on the wrong weeks because they just would be, hit and miss, but they've really turned it up here going into the playoffs. But I still got to take Atlanta because I think Atlanta's been just a lot more consistent throughout the whole season. And I like all the different things they do with Shanahan as an offensive coordinator. So I'm picking Atlanta.
All right, Brian?
Well, here's my quandary: is I want Atlanta to win this game because I really want to see Atlanta in the Super Bowl. But I figure this: either I'm gonna win this pick'em thing this year, or I'm gonna go down in the blaze. So I'm going with Green Bay. Just last week, and I know this will bite me in the butt, but last week I came into the show with Green Bay, and by the time I came to my pick, I went with Dallas, and just something about the way Rodgers is playing and the way he's just completely put that team on his back, and I have to agree, it feels an awful lot like the Super Bowl year because it was kind of the same thing. He just put them on the back, and I as much as I want Atlanta in the Super Bowl, because I really would love to see Atlanta in the Super Bowl, I'm going to go with Green Bay is going to win this.
All right, I'll go next. I'm taking Atlanta. You also got to remember Super Bowl 45 year. They got to play the Chicago Bears third-string quarterback and barely beat him in Chicago. Like I said, I think Atlanta is just the more talented team, but I also think this. I still really like Dan Quinn. I think this is a team that if Dan Quinn would have been with them in 2012, I think they'd have been in the Super Bowl then. I think he brings a toughness to him that Mike Smith didn't bring to him. I think the Falcons are going to be a handful in the Dome. I think Atlanta wins the game 31-30. Matt?
Well, I'm pretty much the same way you are. I think Dan Quinn is the difference in this game. I think as a defensive-minded head coach, he was with Seattle those 2 years and faced Aaron Rodgers in that 2014 championship game. He knows Aaron Rodgers pretty well, and they have a really good defense in Atlanta. They don't have these are not a bunch of scrubs. Vic Beasley is really, really good. They've got several guys that can play on that defensive front seven. Here's the thing about the game on Sunday. All respect to Aaron Rodgers. He's playing great. There's no doubt about it. The key to beating Dallas and the key to beating Atlanta, you have to get up on them. They were able to get up 21-3 on Dallas, and it still went down to the last play. If they don't get up like that on Atlanta, they're not going to beat them. If they can get up like that on Atlanta, I think they can. But I think Dan Quinn is a good enough coach. They're not going to make stupid plays like give Aaron Rodgers a 12-man in the huddle and all that stuff where he can't get off the field. I just don't think
in the first quarter.
In the first quarter.
Now, that brings this up. Coop, was that dude in the huddle? Because he didn't look like he was in the huddle to me.
Oh, that was a bad call.
Wow.
Coop?
The holding call? What are you talking about?
No, the 12-man in the huddle call where he walked
where the
back
guy's in the
him
huddle
and he
for
ran
half a second.
Yeah, I don't. That's like
That was a horrible call.
And see, that brings me, Coop, to this question. It seems like the Packers always get these calls. Jason Witten got mugged twice on the goal line at the end of the first half. They weren't called.
Cole Beasley got helmeted the helmet.
Yeah, you
right
had a few
before
other calls that were questionable. Yeah. I mean, is there any way the NFL just really wants Green Bay in the Super Bowl?
That's what Oz says.
And if Oz says it, it's true.
That's right. Right out of California.
Okay, tell me. Okay, see if anybody agrees with this. I say this. I think Patriots Atlanta is the least compelling storyline for the NFL.
Yeah, but I think it's the best game because the uniforms
I
are
think
cool.
it's the best game. I think it's the best game.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to take
by a mile
the best game, I would love to see Atlanta. I'd love to see Atlanta, and I'd love to see either Atlanta in New England or Atlanta.
You were going to say Atlanta, New England, but you're a Steelers fan, so you backtracked real quick, didn't you?
Atlanta versus the Steelers would be fantastic for the NFL because the marketing potential there is great. Both teams have a lot of superstars, a lot of, offensive, quote-unquote, skill players that they can market, blah, 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 blah. I mean, that would be great for the league. Much better than the Patriots-Falcons. I mean, who wants
Yeah, to me, the Patriots against either team in the NFC is interesting because you get Bill Belichick with 2 weeks to prepare for two of the great quarterbacks in the game.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, to me, that's what I want to see. That, and I hate the Pittsburgh Steelers.
The NFL wants to see offense because that's what's exciting. That's what sells. All four of these teams left in here can put up points. So
yeah,
I don't think there's a bad matchup that can come out of either conference. Either team that comes out of either conference is going to be exciting.
All right, Mark, once again, I really don't like the Pittsburgh Steelers, so if they get in, that's a bad matchup for me because then I got to worry about them winning and have to listen to Brian's ass for an entire year.
Well, my allegiances are certainly with the Patriots, but maybe the NFL, if they're wanting Green Bay to get in, they're also wanting New England not to get in. So.
Oh no, that would be great. Imagine.
No, they don't want New England. And I mean, come on, we all know Goodell's not a big fan. And what about Marc Edwards? What about the Goodell's decided to go to the NFC Championship game instead of the AFC?
It only makes sense. He doesn't want to be there to see Belichick and Brady hoist Lamar Hunt Trophy once again.
Yeah, especially after he did everything he could to keep him from doing it.
Yeah,
Right.
and you know what? I mean, this whole Deflategate thing, still to this day, I think is the stupidest damn thing that's ever happened in the NFL. And I think Roger Goodell came out of it looking incredibly stupid.
But the surprisingly, Roger Goodell looks incredibly stupid all the time, but he keeps his job.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
You know, Ray Rice is suspended for a few weeks, and then they see a video, and then all of a sudden he's banned forever.
Right. Well, and whatever happened to the Deflategate with Ben Roethlisberger? That kind of went away, didn't it?
Well, Aaron Rodgers said he overinflated the balls.
Right.
Right.
Nothing said there.
Absolutely.
I mean, Mark Cooper is a Denver Bronco who, when they won their championship, what was that, 97, admitted, I mean, they got caught putting Vaseline on the offensive linemen's jerseys.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Cheerleaders.
Yeah, they got fined $5,000. Those cheerleaders didn't need Vaseline, Mark. You know it. There was nothing keeping you
now
out of
you're
them.
going to become president.
Okay, Hillary Clinton. But, yeah, Oz needs to go to a support group, too, if anybody knows of one on Inauguration Day.
Oh, come on.
What are we like?
I get a box of crayons.
The countdown's getting close, right?
Yeah.
Oz is moving to Canada.
Crayons.
Make America great again.
Someday I will tell all, but Mike's got the wrong idea.
I don't have the wrong anything. You said that you didn't like Trump, which means you automatically like Clinton.
Oh, I love it. Yes, because we believe in the two-party system, right, Mike?
I didn't like either one of them, so I don't really care. We're all screwed either way. We all need a support group. We just don't know it. But, all right, final words. Matt.
Well, I would say for the final score for the Atlanta Green Bay game, I think if Rodgers is able to get some magic going early and they can get up on Atlanta, this is going to be that shootout that everybody's talking about, because they just don't have the defense that can handle Atlanta. Atlanta's a far better offensive team than Dallas, and Dallas is really good, as we saw. Atlanta can score at will, and I don't think Green Bay will be able to slow down anybody on that offense. So if they don't get up on them, I got Atlanta winning this 38-28.
All right.
I just think they're just better.
Brian, any final words?
Well, other than the fact that if I am right on both of these picks, I win the
No, you don't, because you'll be up 2 games. The Super Bowl's worth 3. We didn't tell you that at the start of the year.
Wow, that's some cheating right there.
Yeah, you got to know that the rules change every week, just so you know.
Yeah, the rules change until I win. Come on, Brian. Damn.
I've noticed that.
Pick them.
I think both games are going to be good games, but the Atlanta Green Bay game, to me, I think has the potential to be an instant classic. So I really hope it lives up to the billing, because it's just the thought of how that game could go, I think, just is exciting, and I really hope it lives up, because I've been excited about that game ever since Green Bay pulled that out in Dallas.
All right, Oz?
I like how Matt still wants to talk about the Green Bay Atlanta game. I like this.
Well, I didn't get to finish, so I had to.
I thought you got to finish. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I just want to say this. I think that Green Bay doesn't care if they go up or not, because they want to turn it into a game where the defense is expecting pass every time, because that's what they're going to do anyway. So
it won't work, though, Oz. If they don't go up early, they're not going to win.
Well, yeah, because Atlanta can.
The defense is terrible.
I think, people always say stuff like whoever has the ball last wins the game. Okay, I'll make a prediction. Whoever scores first is going to win this game, because that's all it's going to be, right? People expect a shootout. It's just going to be score. Whoever scores first is going to win. I want to say, now I will stop talking altogether, but I do want to say before I go out,
you're still talking.
I want to send a shout-out to Sean McVay, Wade Phillips, and Tony Hunter of the LA Rams 2.0 show, which will be back at some point.
All right, yeah, everybody's waiting with bated breath for the Rams show.
Absolutely.
Coop, final words.
Well, I bet you everybody's done watching the Patriots-Pittsburgh game by halftime, and you're trying to figure out what you're going to do with the rest of your day.
I won't be because if the Patriots are blowing them out, I'm going to sit there and watch the whole thing in slow motion.
Replay.
I'm a Bengals fan. The only thing I got is cheering against other teams because my team's obviously going to fail every year.
Yeah, well, I mean, you sound like Oz.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Seahawks are down. I'm happy. Right,
but I think the Atlanta-Green Bay game is going to be a lot of fun to watch. I think you'll be on the edge of your seat. You'll be, be like a tennis match. And like I said, I think Kyle Shanahan will have, Ryan just rolling, throwing it out of the backfield, throwing it deep, good running game, you name it, mixing it up. And I just don't think Green Bay will be able to keep up. So yeah, that's gonna be the game of the week, the weekend. So, but like I said, that Pittsburgh, y'all be done at halftime with that game.
All right, Marc Edwards, number one, thanks for coming on the show with us tonight. And number two, what are your final thoughts?
Final thoughts are we're going to have a repeat of the 1996 season Super Bowl, and if we're jumping ahead, it's going to be an opposite result than that year.
Okay, that would have been 35-21 Green Bay, so that means 35-21 New England.
There you go.
But if you want to come back for the Super Bowl preview show so you can make fun of Schmidt and pick the Patriots again, you're more than welcome.
Absolutely. Give me a holler. We'll do it.
All right. Thanks a lot, Mark. I want to remind everybody, if you want to check out the Notre Dame Legends show with Bob Crable, we had that on in the last week. You can check that out at grillingtruth.net. Make sure you check out our sponsor for the show, Gridiron Mo, at gridironmo.com. You can follow us on Twitter, at Grilling Truth. You can catch all our shows on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Google Music, Spreaker, Stitcher, TuneIn. Anywhere you find podcasts, you'll find the Grilling Truth. So for Os Davis, Brian Schmidt, Matt Andruscavage, Mark Cooper, Marc Edwards, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to the Grilling Truth, where the legends speak.